Who cured the Scientologist. Aaron Gottfried joins us this morning in the studio. Good to have you here.
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
This is a pretty incredible story that you've lived through, and it has to do with bipolar and depression. And I have to admit, when it comes to bipolar affective disorder, I really wasn't too familiar with what that was. And maybe you can explain a little bit in your circumstances how bipolar affected you.
For me, it just was, all of a sudden it came out of nowhere. It was kind of like an onslaught. I was a normal teenager, I guess insecure like everyone else, but then, you know, a few things happen. And what happens with bipolar is something triggers it. And it was just coming in. So then, you know, someone dumps you, or you feel insecure, or something happens in your life, and all of a sudden it goes from normal to, it just went to severe depression. All it takes with bipolar is usually some sort of trigger to create some sort of irrational causation further than what a normal person would feel, whether it's mania or even like a mid-level, which is a bit too depressed or a bit too high, or a severe depression.
Yeah, in your case, this came on really, really quickly, and I guess part of that problem would be being a teenager when this happened, because I know as a parent, I have a 16-year-old son at home, I would look and think, oh, you know, these are just normal romances that have gone amiss, and he'll be fine, he'll recover from this. In your case, it was a girl, and you know, you thought everything was rosy, and she dumped you, as you said, and that's what triggered. That was the starting point.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even anything. We were just seeing each other. There's a lot of things. I mean, bipolar type 1 is one thing. It's supposed to be the most severe, and it just kind of happened. But I also had body problems, which complicated. I had mono. I had a blood infection from a fight, you know, with you know, teeth. Human teeth are very dirty, and then it all just happened at once. So I mean, you could say it would have happened anyway, severely, but maybe not to the point where it started off with, because all these things were happening too. So it was a chemical imbalance and a body problem at the time.
It's interesting reading in your own words, sort of you looking back at it now and describing how it went, how it all played out. And so many times in the book, even in yourself, I can almost hear you wrestling in your head thinking, okay, this is irrational. I shouldn't be feeling this upset because of this, but I do. Yeah. And that helpless feeling of not knowing what to do about it, or how to get out of this.
Yes, I mean, there's no denying it. It's not like you say to yourself, you can see any way out. It's just something that you're feeling, and you can't deny how you feel. And with a severe depression, with manic depression, is these feelings are here, and the more you think about it, the worse it gets. You can't really spiral positively out of it. It just spirals downwards until the brain chemistry somehow switches by fate or by the illness or whatever it is, somehow into, you know, from almost suicidal situations to an uprising again.
Well, and you hit those suicidal situations where you thought of ending it because the pain was too much. It just seemed like the best option at the time.
Because everything ebbs and flows. I mean, it has to change eventually, but in the depths and the situation of it, you just can't change it. You can't do anything, and you have to kind of like wait for the cycle to rear its head.
Well, and part of your story that, I don't want to say complicated it, or sort of made this a very different case, was the fact that your parents were Scientologists.
Yeah.
And because of this, the idea of medication or helping you with medication didn't seem to be an option for them. They were looking for other treatment methods for you, and you ended up going to a camp, I guess, for lack of a better word. They sent you to this camp to try to help you.
Well, my mom was a nurse, so she was aware of medication, and they weren't necessarily against it. The Scientologists that were in the church with them were against it. They wanted to look out for me, what was the best situation for me. And so when I was sick, I became a Scientologist. And so because I was a Scientologist, it was okay for these things to happen, for me to go to these places, and I was volunteering to do it because that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to get help and help people realize things about Scientology and spirituality and all these things. So I volunteered to do all these things, but it just didn't turn out to be, it turned out to be more detrimental than instrumental.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly the camp and the sort of vacation that you were looking for at the time.
It was an expensive, bad vacation.
Yeah. And you sort of found that the people that you were with weren't really like you anyway. They were dealing with many different things that you weren't dealing with. Yours was bipolar. Theirs tended to be drugs and alcohol and a lot of different situations that they were trying to work with.
We were all kind of sons and daughters of Scientologists, but you know, I was there kind of for the cause and to learn. They were just there because they had to be.
And ultimately, it came down to a psychiatrist that you needed to work through. And I mean, you look wonderful now and extremely healthy, and certainly have made your way around. And that's the positive point to really get across in this, that when you're dealing with depression and when you're dealing with bipolar, there are ways and means by which you can get help and turn things around.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the message of the book, I guess. I mean, mental illness is still a very obscure thing. It's sent into, you know, this void. And when people are mentally ill and they're not doing well in life, they're just written off as they're mentally ill. But if someone's very talented and doing well, and they're mentally ill, they're mentally ill despite their talent. Their mental illness isn't acknowledged at all. So it's just not acknowledged. It can't be ever considered a positive thing. Because, I mean, I believe our challenges are a positive thing, something to get over. You know, it's what we need in life to better ourselves. We live in a continent where it's instant gratification.
Right.
And it's avoiding everything, lying, cheating, stealing to do it. And that's how we get nowhere. That's how people are actually lowering themselves into dwelling.
Well, and you actually wrote in the book, mental illness doesn't have to be a sentence. People shouldn't be judged for it because anyone who doesn't find a cure for their afflictions belong to a permanent mind prison. Most illnesses can be regulated if not fully controlled. And I think that's really the message that we want to leave with today, is reminding people. And it's an amazing story, an incredible story, and your story is only just beginning. This could almost be book one in a series someday, Aaron, that you could write.
Maybe. Yeah.
Where is it available? Where can people pick this up?
It's in all the book cities in Toronto, including Caversham booksellers. In Guelph, it should be on the shelves soon at the bookshelf, Cambridge Mall, Book Express. In Kitchener here, it's Hollyoak, Book Exchange, and Gateway Chapters.
And there's your website as well that people can go to and get more information on it.
Possibly more to come. I'm kind of looking for some funding right now. It's kind of hard to find publishers, and considering who will publish it, it's kind of controversial. And I'm looking for funding or a grant, but for some reason they just seem to give money to people who are already published or need research money. I don't know what that means. I have other book ideas. I don't need money for research, but or groups of people that are looking to do things. But I just want to be able to afford some more books because it costs money, and the consignment rate from the bookstores doesn't give me enough money to buy more books, even though it's starting to sell right now.
Well, and there you go. You can go onto the website to find out more, and certainly pick up the psychiatrist who cured the Scientologist.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
We're back with more in a moment. Stay with us.